Hello, and thank you for tuning back in. This is Daniel here. Hope you are doing really, really well today. This is an Insomnia Insight episode. I'm trying something new today. When I've done videos, I sometimes run into a problem with the length of them. It is hard to upload videos that are more than 8, 9 minutes or so, and sometimes I feel I feel a little bit time pressured. So today I'm going to answer an email from Mike. This is Mike who's really contributed a lot to the channel. This is Mike that was in the Talking Insomnia episode. I believe it was 2, possibly 3. And Mike emailed me about 22 hours ago. So this is a reply to you, Mike, if you're hearing this. So let me just start by just quickly summarizing. Mike and I connected a couple months ago, and he had a health scare involving his vision and some tinnitus, also some hearing problems. I remember, and that was in September of 2018. And he had previously, a couple of years before that, I believe it was, had a brief episode of insomnia that resolved without any particular intervention. Now, so I connected with Mike a couple of months ago, and he had been trying to do cognitive behavioral therapy, meaning he tried to, go to bed fairly late, only spend a few hours in bed, which is the key technique called bedtime restriction or sleep restriction. Had not really had any major success with it, and was often quite frustrated because what would happen is he would fall asleep unintentionally before his bedtime, and then have a hard time sleeping at night. And another thing that I remember from talking to Mike is that he had, for the longest period, I think for most of his adult life, if I remember correctly, pretty much been sleeping on a couch. And this will, you'll understand why I brought this up in a second here. So with that little, with a little look back there, let's move over to an email from Mike that I received 23 hours ago. And as I always say here, nothing here is medical advice to anyone, just general thoughts, comments, suggestions, and you, Mike, or anybody else tuning in here will have to decide if my thoughts are helpful to you or something you should be doing or not. Now, let's get to this email. So, hi, Dr. Erikson. I just have a few questions for you as I have hit another bad cycle of insomnia. First of all, Mike, very sorry to hear this. But in case I forget this later on, as always, let's not forget that there was a stretch of time, which I believe was several weeks, where you were doing better, and not necessarily sleeping great, but I remember there was a good several weeks where you had less concerns about your sleep. So let's always keep that in mind as we go forward. So I guess where I'm getting to here is that yes, you had another bad cycle of insomnia, but you have had insomnia before, gotten over it before, so very hopeful that that will be the case now again. Now, let's continue reading this email. So Mike is describing what is happening. So he's saying that, around 8:30 p.m., he lays down on a couch with head up, watching TV, surfing the internet with a tablet. 9:30 or 10 p.m.-ish, doze off unknowingly on the couch and probably wake up between 12:30 or 1:30 a.m. After this, either I can't go back to sleep or maybe doze off on the couch again, watching TV around maybe 4 a.m.-ish and sleep until 7 a.m.-ish. So just a few comments there. Looking at this, it sounds like you may be getting, 3 hours first there, and then another maybe 3 hours. So maybe a total of 6 hours, which, for most people, 6 hours is actually what we sleep. So it could be that you're getting close to, the amount you need, but then, the timing is an issue here. It's like these two fragments of sleeping instead of one nice chunk. Okay, continuing to read here. The plan. Even though it really scares me to attempt bedtime restriction again, I think I'm going to try. So Mike is writing here that his plan is to go to bed 11:30 p.m. and get out of bed 5:30 or maybe 5 a.m. Always get up at 5:30 a.m. Maybe try the happy light again. And then he's highlighted in red here, not sure if I should sleep on the couch or bed. And that question will come back later. Continuing to read here. Major issues from last time. So again, Mike had tried doing this bedtime restriction in the past, but he had troubles with it. Continuing to read. I cannot sleep in my bed. Since sleep is the only thing to do, my brain just doesn't like it. probably since junior high. I've fallen asleep in front of a TV. This is a major problem. Bullet point 2, trouble staying awake until my sleep window. Another problem here, trouble sleeping through my sleep window. The last one, constantly looking at the clock to see if the sleep window has started. And no doubt, building up expectations and kind of makes sleep a big event and setting myself up for failure. I'm continuing to read here. What's funny is that I remember telling you that my quote-unquote trigger is health concerns. I think it was a Monday night. I woke up around 1 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. I think it was the third night of having issues. I noticed you released a new video, and it was talking about a familial fatal insomnia, a sporadic fatal insomnia, and I started getting scared. As I told you, if I go several days with disrupted sleep, it starts to affect walking, most likely due to exhaustion, but I got scared anyway. My eyes will hurt, and sometimes it is hard to function, but no memory loss, coordination issues, etc. And just a comment here, I really sorry about this, Mike. And I feel so conflicted talking about these things because I've never seen, and I'm 100% sure I will never ever see a person that has fatal insomnia, and it's so incredibly rare, and that on one hand I feel like I don't ever want to talk about it because it just scares people for no reason. But then on the other hand, if I don't talk about it, it'll just be, a lot of people have hard finding some meaningful information. So, again, fatal insomnia, fatal familial insomnia is you're not going to have that unless you know somebody in your family that died after having gone month and month without sleeping and having known fatal insomnia. And by the way, if somebody has that, there's probably genetic testing done in all family members. So if you don't have that family member, you don't have, with all likelihood, you don't have fatal familial insomnia. And then sporadic fatal insomnia. People with sporadic fatal insomnia, here's the thing, the key thing, in the 32 cases recorded in history over all times, people with sporadic fatal insomnia don't really complain of trouble sleeping. So the fact that you have a hard time sleeping in itself is key evidence that you don't have SFI. So just a little comment there. Now continuing to read. I thought you did a good job stating that it is extremely rare and that you would know within weeks or if not a month or so if you had it or not. And I certainly wouldn't be able to do engineering work if I had it when I got good sleep. Doing engineering work, if I had it when I got good sleep, it goes away. So yes, I'm happy you made those points. 100% agree with that. Now, finally here are my questions. Number 1, what can I do to retrain myself to sleep in bed? Right now, that is literally impossible to do, and I feel like I will fail at sleep restriction again because of it. So there are 3 more questions, but I'll just answer them as they come here. So what can I do to retrain myself to sleep in a bed? Well, I think, if one is sleepy enough and, one's kind of anxiety and tensions around sleep are low enough, then you will fall asleep even if this is in your bed. And in fact, I was thinking of maybe this question too, Mike. Could you exploit the fact that you cannot sleep in your bed at this point in time? Meaning, your problem is that you are falling asleep unintentionally in the evening. What if you went to your bed, around 9 p.m. or something like that, and just, stayed in bed? This is kind of contrary to what I would recommend to anybody else, but in your case, maybe you could use this kind of aversion of sleep in your bed to keep you awake. And then if, let's say it is, your sleep window opens up, it's like 11:30 p.m. and you are in your bed, then, for now, I would say it's completely appropriate to say, like, if it's 11:30 and you're in your bed and you start feeling sleepy, you could either decide to just stay in bed, turn the lights off, and try to go to sleep, or go to that couch. Because the first thing we want to establish here is a pattern. Like, you want to get to a point where you fall asleep at 11:30 and sleep most of the night. So if staying in bed from 9:30 to 11:30 allows you to stay awake without micro sleep, without dozing off, maybe that's a good start, and then later on, we could worry about like how are you going to be able to sleep in your bed. So kind of some thoughts on that question, and then move on to number 2 here. Can you do sleep restriction using my couch instead? And I kind of already answered that, but I say yes. There's no problem with that. And the first goal here is like if we're successful with you sleeping from about 11:30 till about 5:30 pretty consistently in your couch, then we can worry about like how we're going to transition you from couch to bed. But that's a good place to be in because you have a pattern. Number 3, any thoughts about the major issues section? And I did have that, particularly number 4 here, constantly looking at the clock to see if the sleep window has started. So here is, I really want to share something. So Michael Schwartz, one of the 2 other like really like hardcore CBTI believers in Life for a Better Word, like 2 other people that I interact with a lot. Michael told me that he did bedtime restrictions a little bit differently. Instead of telling his clients or the people he worked with that they should not go to bed before, let's say in your case, 11:30 p.m. Instead of that, he just had a time where he said, this is your time to stop looking at the clock. And that doesn't necessarily need to be the same time that is like your earliest allowed bedtime. So in your case, Mike, I'm thinking maybe that could work for you, meaning you have a kind of like tentative like bedtime of not before 11:30 p.m. But instead of like focusing on that, you say that after, I'm going to say make something up here. Let's say after 10:30 p.m. I'm not going to look at the clock anymore. And then you might be like, well, how am I going to know if it's 11:30? No, you don't. You just say after 10:30 p.m. I just stop looking at the clock. And I just go 100% on what I feel. So if it's, I stop looking at the clock 10:30 p.m. and then I don't really know exactly when I, go to bed, when I fall asleep, but you have a notion, you have a sense of that, and that's more important. Like even if you don't know exactly how long it took you to fall asleep or what time you went to bed, the more important thing here is that you stop looking at the clock at 10:30 p.m. in this example. So that was my major kind of thing I want to communicate to you from your kind of list of major issues from last time. So I feel like I did a lot of talking, and this is a lot of information in this episode as it is. So I hope this was helpful for you, Mike. As always, this is to you, Mike. Thank you for sending this, but to everybody that's really contacted me, thank you so much, because this really, I think it's just so helpful to hear from people that are having trouble sleeping, because these are real issues, instead of me kind of just picking a topic and rambling about that one. So, Mike, let me know how things go, and I hope that you will be seeing some results, that you'll be sleeping better in the next, maybe not days, but weeks and maybe months. So with that said, anybody else with a question, comment, thought, any input, do not hesitate to leave a comment or send me an email at daniel@insomniainsight.co, and I hope to have each and every one of you that tuned in here today back very, very soon. Until then, bye-bye.